Did you know that there's illegal ways to build Lego?
From illegal techniques to using bricks that don't exist, you can bend and break the rules of building to make some incredible things once you think outside the box.
Today I'm going to be testing out some of these illegal methods, but firstly, what does illegal mean in the context of Lego?
Illegal build techniques are connections that can cause stress upon the bricks and over time cause damage to the pieces or even cause them to break.
But you'll also find that there are connections that are too weak and too fragile to pass Lego's build quality tests, meaning that they can't be used in official sets. There are so many techniques out there that are technically classified as illegal, but they allow builders to do so many amazing things.
They allow for a whole new level of creativity and design that even in a few cases, Lego sets have actually had to utilize these techniques for themselves.
One of the most popular is attaching plates at a 90-degree angle.
And this can be useful and a great technique for many things and really only starts to majorly warp the pieces if you add plates into every gap of studs.
Next is one that Lego have actually done themselves to create roof tiles in their Rivendell set. And that is by using a plate to push between the gaps of tiles so that they can sit at a perfect 45-degree angle. Whilst this one theoretically doesn't cause any stress to the bricks, it always feels like I'm going to damage a piece when I use this method. Overall though, I think this was just straight genius from the Lego team. The most brilliant yet slightly difficult illegal technique, however, has become extremely popular for builders who are looking to have a stained glass effect. I first discovered this technique when Reddit user Killer Greenstar figured out that cheese slopes can actually perfectly fit inside Lego window frames. By using translucent cheese slopes stacked on top of one another, you can make some beautiful glass effects. It works by having the slopes slot together to make a bunch of tiny squares within the frame. It requires a lot of care and balance to slot them in, but once the frame is filled, the entire thing stays put pretty well. You can also use translucent tiles or plates on larger window frames to fill it out when and where needed, but this is such a creative method and works so well. Next up are some ways that you can attach bricks and plates to one another, but backwards. If you want to attach two plates, you can use those same cheese slopes from the windows and then stick them in the corners of the plate and attach one to the back of another one. It unfortunately does leave a gap between the plates, though you can also use this technique with a plate and a brick for a bit of a cleaner finish. Word of warning though, it can be very tricky to get the slopes out if they get stuck. In order to attach two bricks, however, there are a couple more methods to choose from. The first and most popular is by using these small Technic pins and putting them inside the holes at the bottom of the brick. This counts as an illegal technique because the pins don't have any room to expand the way that they do in specialty Technic parts, putting a lot of stress on the interior of the brick, and given that this method leaves a tiny gap, it is probably best that we try these other methods instead. So if you have some of the small glass window panes lying around, you can place them within the gaps of the bricks and it's snug enough that you can hold two together. But the best by far involves using these modified bricks. You can use a small Technic axle rod, and by putting it right in the center, you create by far the most strong and secure connection of them all.
And finally, you can use the holes within a Technic bricks to slot another brick in there, creating a connection sideways instead of on top. But like most illegal techniques, you are going to put a lot of pressure onto the studs as it is a really tight fit to get this one to work. However, given that you're using Lego brick dimensions, it can end up being much easier when doing Lego math than using something like a bracket piece.
When you build with Lego, it means that you are limited to the colors and pieces that they have, and whilst new molds and colors are introduced regularly, there are certain types of pieces that they'll probably never make. However, some of those pieces you can actually find in sets made by other brands such as Mattel, Fantasy, or Builder, and some others you're gonna have to make yourself. For me, my most desired Lego piece by far is a plate that has studs on the top and the bottom. After getting to use this type of piece in some of the Mattel Pokemon sets and struggling to attach a backpack to a mech version of Buzz Lightyear, a plate or brick with connection points on either side would have saved me from a lot of headaches.
I found these 3D print files for custom molded bricks by a user called R2 on Printables that I ended up importing into Elegoo Slicer, along with a few other bricks so that I could make them to try for myself on my Elegoo 3D printer.
Since the whole point of these pieces is to have studs on both the top and the bottom, I had to enable supports during the printing process. This ended up bringing the total print time to just over 1 hour on the Centauri carbon. The first of the custom bricks that I printed is a 45-degree angle brick. When I first saw this, it reminded me a lot of the acrylic display stands that I have for some of my Lego sets, and I feel like has a lot more potential when creating your own. You could use these 3D printed bricks to make various signs or billboards, or even possibly a damaged road or bridge for a superhero battle build. Though at least for now, I think I'm gonna try to use it to display my Formula 1 Speed Champions cars. I couldn't print my own pieces though without having a brick with studs on the top and bottom. This type of dual-sided piece is one I have often found myself wishing existed when building, and whilst I wish this was actually a plate, I can see this brick being super handy. Having studs on either side means you can easily attach builds to inverted surfaces such as the mech body plates, or build build bases like in these Star Wars dioramas without having the base of the bricks exposed. You'll be able to continue building without having to figure out how to do things upside down, using inverted pieces, or using a bunch of double-sided snot bricks. So basically, it becomes a building cheat code. And speaking of snot bricks, next up is this inverted snot brick, which serves a similar purpose to this 2x2 snot brick that I realized you can just replicate yourself using actual Lego pieces. So instead, I moved on to this inverted snot brick, which whilst it's quite similar to this particular piece, that one comes with quite a few limitations that this new piece solves. This 3D printed piece allows you to build upside down in 360 degrees and would be super helpful when building. Then lastly, I have these two bricks that have a combination of both regular studs and inverted studs on the brick at the exact same time. And whilst I haven't found a specific use case for them yet, I am really glad to have these pieces at my disposal because you never know when you might need it for some illegal building. Next up, I wanted to scale up the size of a stud and create a massive Lego model by 3D printing mega versions of pieces that already exist in real life.
I found this file to 3D print a mini kit from the LEGO Star Wars Complete Saga video game, which acts as a container for various objects. Using the Elegoo slicer app, I was able to scale up the model by 400% so that it would be considerably larger than a real mini kit and allow me to house various pieces or minifigures if I wanted to.
LEGO elements since their creation in 1949 have always been made to fit the exact same scale, allowing any piece, no matter what year it was made, to interlock with one another. So by scaling this up, I've broken the legal limits that LEGO set for themselves.
I printed all of the white bricks first with the Centauri carbon, which printed really quickly, and then sanded down the base a little bit to make it perfect just like the rest. I then switched out the filament to print all of the black bricks, which is where things took a turn for the worst.
I tried recording a time lapse for the purpose of this video when my GoPro decided to fall and knocked over the print head, completely messing up my print. Thankfully, I'd heard it pretty much straight away, so I was able to quickly run in and completely abort mission by unplugging the printer from the wall. And then when I rebooted the printer, it recognized that there was an issue and let me resume exactly where it left off, which thankfully meant that I only had a few little stray bits of filament to pick off at the very end of the build.
Lastly, I printed the two studs. However, even though I scaled these up by 400% at first, it ended up being a little too small to fit on the black pieces that I just finished printing. So I went back into the slicer app and increased it to 420% and also added some supports this time around, and whilst it's a little bit of a tight fit, it works perfectly.
To go along with the mini kit, I also 3D printed a life-size version of the original LEGO Star Wars blasters because why not? The printer was pretty much ready to go straight out of the box, so if you've been thinking about getting a 3D printer for yourself, I will leave a link to this Centauri carbon down in the description below. By breaking the rules of LEGO, I have been able to create some amazing things and unlocked a wide range of possibilities for my future builds. But if you like this video, consider subscribing to my channel down below, and until next time, I'll see you later.